Toyota is known for its robust engineering. You can't just take a crap on their cars and say that they suck because, for most parts, these Toyota units can outlast even your longest relationship. But kidding aside, not all their products have the potential to reach 500,000 miles, except for the ones you are about to see here. Hello everyone, this is Scott from CarlandTV. It's time to get in the front seat as today, you are about to know some of the most reliable Toyota SUVs that have been recorded or have the potential to reach 500,000 miles. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now, buckle up and let's get back to the video. Toyota Sequoia 2008 to 2022. If there's one full-size SUV I'd throw money on to break 500,000 miles without giving me drama, it's the second-gen Toyota Sequoia. I'm pretty sure you've seen one of these things do hard work for decades, and they just keep going. By all means, they're not flashy or loaded with gimmicks, but it's built like a proper truck, and Toyota wasn't messing around when they designed it. Of course, what makes the Sequoia undying is the motor under the hood. It's a 5.7-liter 3URFE V8, the same one they stuffed into the Tundra and the Land Cruiser. This engine is a damn workhorse, makes 381 horses and over 400 pound-feet of torque, and it's all naturally aspirated. No turbos, no direct injection, no ticking time bombs. It runs a timing chain, not a belt, so you're not tearing into the motor every 100,000 miles for a service. The block and heads are aluminum, which keeps it from turning into a boat anchor, and it handles heat really well. You keep the oil clean and use quality filters, and this thing will easily run well into the 300,000 range without a rebuild. I've seen them hit 400K on the original internals. The transmission, meanwhile, is a 6-speed auto, and while it's not packed with gears like today's 10 speeds, it does the job just fine. It's a torque converter box, ASIN-sourced, and it's definitely stout. No weird shift flares, no hunting for gears, 'cause I really hate this one. It just smoothly shifts and comes with a reputation for lasting forever if you don't cook the fluid. My advice is that you change it every 60,000 miles or so if you're towing, and you'll never have to worry about it. Now, the frame of this thing is a fully boxed steel ladder frame, which is also the same set of bones as the Tundra. It's heavy-duty and built to take abuse. You can tow with it, hit back roads, and load it full of gear without worrying about bending or flexing the chassis. If you live up north, rust is the only thing you gotta keep an eye on. Toyota's frames can get flaky on salted roads, but if you undercoat it and keep the junk washed off, it might even outlast most people. The suspension is legit. It's got independent double wishbones up front and out back too, which is rare on a full-sizer. Most big SUVs use a solid axle in the rear, but Toyota gave this thing IRS for better ride comfort without totally sacrificing durability. It still takes a beating and holds up over time. The control arms, bushings, and coil springs last a good while, and when they do wear out, parts are cheap and easy to swap. Some trims came with rear air suspension, which is fancy for load leveling. But honestly, I'd stick with coils for fewer headaches long term. If you stay on top of fluids, such as oil every 5,000 miles and coolant, diffs, and transmission fluids every 60,000 to 100,000 miles depending on your use, you're looking at a truck that will just keep going. It's got the same DNA as a Tundra and shares a lot with the Land Cruiser underneath, so reliability is baked in. I've seen Sequoias with 300,000 and 400,000 miles still running original drivetrains. They don't squeak, they don't rattle, and they don't care if you throw a boat on the hitch or pack it full of family and hit the Rockies. If you want a big SUV with real truck guts and the kind of durability you used to get back in the day, the 2008 to 2022 models of Sequoia are among the last of their kind. It doesn't just look tough, it is actually tough. And if you play your cards right, it might just haul your grandkids to school one day. Toyota 4Runner, 2010 to present. If there's one SUV I'd bet on to hit 500,000 miles without falling apart, it's the 5th-gen Toyota 4Runner, or those model years 2010 and up. I've seen these things go through hell and keep moving like nothing happened. It's one of those rigs that wasn't built to win spec sheet wars or impress tech reviewers. Toyota built it to last, plain and simple. That's something that many people don't get. It has gimmicks, no overcomplicated electronics, just good old-fashioned truck DNA that works. First off, I want to talk about its 4-liter 1GRF EV6 engine. This thing is an absolute workhorse. Sure, it's not going to blow your doors off at a stoplight, but it makes solid power. It can output 270 horses and almost 280 pound-foot of torque. And technically, it could run a lifetime if you feed it clean oil. It has a timing chain, not a belt, so you don't have to mess with replacements every 100,000 miles. Toyota also kept it simple with port fuel injection, not direct injection, which means no carbon buildup on your intake valves and way fewer issues long-term. This engine doesn't need to be babied either. Just keep the oil clean, don't run it dry, and you're good to go. Now it uses an old-school 5-speed A750F auto transmission in the 4-wheel drives. And yeah, I know 5 gears sounds ancient with all these new 8 and 10-speed boxes out there, but trust me, that's a good thing. Fewer gears mean fewer parts to break. This transmission is strong and smooth and doesn't play the gear hunting game that newer units do. You change the ATF every 60 to 100,000 miles, and this thing will last well into the high mileage zone. It's been used in other Toyota trucks too, so it's actually a proven tech. What really makes the 4Runner a tank is the body-on-frame build. You're not driving a crossover pretending to be an SUV. This thing has a real ladder frame underneath, which is a fully boxed steel that is built to take abuse. So whether you're hauling gear, towing, or bouncing around on a trail, that frame soaks up punishment. The only catch is that if you live where they salt the roads, you gotta stay on top of frame rust. Hit it with undercoating, wash the salt off in winter, and you'll be fine. Suspension-wise, it's basically a no-nonsense setup. Double wishbones up front, solid axle with coils in the rear. That's pretty much it. You get decent ride quality for daily use, but it still has the bones for real off-roading. If you spring for a TRD Off-Road or TRD Pro, you might get KDSS, Toyota's hydraulic sway bar setup that keeps the truck flat on pavement, but gives you more articulation off-road. Even though it sounds fancy, KDSS is pretty bulletproof if you don't ignore it. The 4-wheel drive system is legit too, and none of that faux AWD junk. You get a proper part-time 4-wheel drive setup with a low-range gear, and even a locking rear diff on some trims. There's no clutch-based nonsense here. It's all mechanical, which means that it's reliable, tough, and easy to service. You can drop into 4-wheel drive, low range, and crawl through mud or rocks, or just lock in 4-wheel drive high range for bad weather and know it's going to grip. The only real issue you might run into with the 4Runner is the brake feel on certain years, particularly the 2014 to 2017 model years. But it's usually nothing major if you stay ahead of maintenance. Rust is the bigger long-term threat, especially up north. But again, if you stay on top of it, you'll be fine. Toyota Land Cruiser, 2008 to 2021. If you've ever owned or worked on a 2008 to 2021 Toyota Land Cruiser, widely known as the 200 series, you already know this rig isn't your average SUV. It's not some mall crawler with fake off-road cred. This thing is built like a tank, and it'll eat up 500,000 miles without breaking a sweat if you are just going to treat it right. As far as I'm concerned, Toyota didn't cut corners on this one. They built it to survive anything you throw at it, be it deserts, snow, mud, city driving, highway miles. That's why it's still the go-to for the UN and remote expeditions, and why people like me are still looking to buy them secondhand for close to what they cost new. I'll start with what's under the hood, which is a 5.7-liter 3URF EV8. This is one of the last great naturally aspirated V8s Toyota built. Seriously. It has an aluminum block and heads, dual overhead cams, and Toyota's dual VVTi. You've also got forged steel rods, a forged crankshaft, and oil-squirted pistons with low-friction coatings, which means that this thing is built to take abuse. And it runs a timing chain, not a belt, so you're not doing major service every 90 to 100,000 miles. It's port-injected too, not direct-injected, so you don't get that nasty carbon buildup on the valves like you do in newer setups. Sure, some folks have seen a little oil consumption over time from the piston rings coking up, but if you use good synthetic oil and keep your changes on schedule, it's actually not a real problem. Toyota beat the hell out of this engine before it ever saw a showroom. Backing that beast of a motor is the Aisin AB60F 6-speed auto. This ain't some dainty transmission, it's some heavy-duty unit that is also used in the Tundra. Big gear sets, a big torque converter, and a proper external fluid cooler, not just a line through the radiator. Those are the things that I really love about this transmission. So as long as you change the fluid when you're supposed to, this thing will last forever. I've seen trucks with over 300,000 miles on the original trans, still shifting smoothly. No weird flares or slipping. The drivetrain is full-time four-wheel drive, and it's the real deal. None of that quote-unquote all-wheel drive with a traction button stuff. You get a torsion center diff that actively splits torque front and rear, and you can lock it when things get sketchy. There's a 2-speed transfer case with a real low range, and this tells that this thing can crawl rocks, slog through deep snow, or haul heavy loads without stressing anything. The diffs are beefy, which are coupled by thick ring gears, big housings, and strong axles. Even the CV shafts are chunkier than most 3/4-ton trucks. You can hammer these things through rough terrain and they won't flinch. The cooling system is one of the most overlooked parts of a vehicle, but Toyota nailed it here. You get a fat aluminum radiator, a dedicated transmission cooler, and a big engine oil cooler. And the fan is a good old belt-driven clutch fan, and not an electric one that fries out after 100,000 miles. This setup works in 120-degree Fahrenheit desert heat and won't overheat pulling a trailer up a mountain. The only thing to keep an eye on is the water pump. Some guys see them start weeping around 60 to 100,000 miles, but it's not a hard fix, and the OEM part is solid. Even the frame and underbody are designed with longevity in mind. Fully boxed frame, thick steel, and solid factory rust proofing. You name it. The fuel tank is steel, shielded, and protected by a skid plate. Same with the transfer case and front diff. They are covered and tucked up out of the way. Fasteners are corrosion treated, and critical lines like brake and fuel are routed away from high salt splash zones.